Joining me in studio this morning, and it's the first time I've met this guy. I feel like I know him. With the Tennessee Highway Patrol, Sergeant Charlie Childers is in the house, and ain't no doubt. Sergeant, good morning, and how are you, sir?
Good morning. Doing well.
Well,
Excited to be here.
You come on up on that mic right there.
All right.
That's you're getting to see how the sausage is made.
That's right.
Last night, I was leaving kind of early, like at 10:30, and got in the vehicle, and there was nothing on the air. That's a problem. So who do I call? I was like, geez, I got to do it. So I come in, run through all the tests, and everything's beautiful here. So it's at the tower. So to say last night was a long night would be the understatement of the century. And so I'm trying to play the victim here. I'm looking for some sympathy.
Was it weather related?
No, it was
windy.
The technology today is brilliant. But it works. Well, it was an internet connection, a port that had to be replaced. Something that simple can take an operation of this magnitude down. I think it's time to be worried.
That's right.
It's time to be worried, but so I was up most of the night last night, had a little bit of sleep, and I was dreaming this morning that there was an alarm going off, and then another one, and it turned out that it wasn't a dream. And so I had to get up, do my hair, blah, blah, blah. But it's great to see you, and it's a pleasure to meet you. I tell you, Sergeant, you and Lieutenant Chris Hosek. Now, he got me in touch with T-Dye. Talked with them yesterday. They're going to start coming on a regular basis to update the people on what's going on with the infrastructure here and there. And with Blue Oval City coming in, geez, we could be set to see some expanding or some makeovers with the infrastructure,
Of course.
Do you guys talk about that, or you get other things?
I think everybody talks about Blue Oval City. It's it's an exciting time, especially for the rural area. Haywood County. That was actually my first assignment when I came on the Highway Patrol. I was assigned over to Haywood County, and to be honest with you, I don't know that I had ever been to Haywood County when I was assigned over there. I remember the day that they gave us our assignments. They passed out tissues and maps of the state. And I think I was one of the furthest people had to move away from their homes. And
you were living in McNairy?
I was living in Hardin County.
Okay.
And
on the river?
Oh, I wished. No, yeah. I live, of course, you know where the lake is. I always tell the people this.
Yeah.
So you know where the lake is, the lake is there in Pickwick. There's really nice big houses there on the north side of the lake.
Oh, yes, yeah.
The third house from the dam. If you go 15 miles north of there, that's where I live. Yeah, just 15 short miles from there, and that's where I lived in Savannah. So,
well, that is a beautiful spot, isn't it? Those houses way up high there.
Oh, of course.
Oh, but now Coffee Bottom Landing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I was in healthcare. What year did you graduate high school over there?
2002.
Okay, well, this was the late 90s.
Mm-hmm.
And had patients over in Savannah area. It was early one summer morning. I say early, I got to Savannah probably 9 a.m. Went through Coffee Bottom like always. And when it's not flooded.
Right.
Crossed the Tennessee River Bridge, and there was a helicopter.
Oh, yeah.
And they were stringing the power lines across the river there. And when I came back a couple hours later leaving, there were emergency vehicles everywhere. And from, where the post office is right there by the...
Of course.
Now, what I was told, because, of course, I pulled in there as close as I could get,
mm-hmm.
and that helicopter kind of leaned a little too far forward, and it hit the tower climber, cut him in half, and threw him out in the parking lot at the post office, and the helicopter crashed and killed, I think, 2 or 3 on board.
Yes.
Do you recall that?
I do.
Is that about what happened?
I know this will upset you, but I think I was in the 3rd grade when that happened, and I went to school down at Pickwick Southside, go Eagles. And
I know that school. Yes.
Yeah. So I do remember that, and of course, I don't remember this, but working in law enforcement after that, I had talked to the chief of police, and he said we had some really good news footage of locals from Savannah. They couldn't pick the ones to interview on live television. They always got the ones that the ones that really represent your town very well.
The ones that tell you about the tornado.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, and I know, yeah.
Well, a horrible moment was there was a little bit of humor in it, and I hope this doesn't upset anybody, but
it's been 24 years or so.
You're right. They asked a lady. They said, "Can you tell us what happened?" She said, "Well," she's like, I heard a big loud explosion, so I came outside. I thought somebody could have died or something even worse could have happened.
Something even worse,
something
right?
even worse than that. And sure enough, there is a plaque commemorating that day. So I used to think I had a picture of that on my phone, but I don't have that readily accessible. But just so we would know the year. But I had took my son over there to see that. Probably in the past 6 months.
Yeah,
we talked about it.
And Sergeant, I've asked people from down there, and do you remember when this? And most people are like, no, I didn't know that. So you do remember?
I do.
Third grade, yeah.
I do remember that. The bridge that fell going over to Clifton, that was another big.
Oh, that's what year was that?
I want to say that was in the 90s as well.
I used to ride the ferry in Clifton.
Mm-hmm.
Across. So I remember that bridge fell. It was was it the old one or it was being constructed, right?
It was being constructed. Mm-hmm. Almost finished. And then, I'm not for sure if it was obviously something malfunctioned, but I wasn't really for sure exactly what it was. But and I know that one person lost their life in that. I want to say it was a TDOT employee, but I'm not for sure.
Boy, well, here's something something that. Around you bring that up, and I posted a story last night at newstalkwtn.com. If you've not seen it, about a bridge collapse. Where was that? It was multiple injuries after under construction bridge collapses in Kansas City.
Wow!
Look at that.
Those pictures are rough.
That's not. I don't think that bridge was as far along as the one over the Tennessee River Bridge. But boy. So fortunately, no one was killed.
That's great.
Yeah, several people trapped. Well, I say no one was killed. This was early. We'll get you some updates on it. But actually, that one dead and up to 3 injured after the Missouri bridge collapses while under construction. One person dead and up to 3 others are injured after a bridge that was under construction near Kansas City collapsed. Workers were pouring concrete on the bridge deck when it collapsed yesterday afternoon around 2 o'clock Central. And the bridge collapsed on top of the workers, and rescue efforts ensued. Clay County Western Commissioner John Carpenter was quoted or gave those numbers to ABC News. 3 to 4 workers became trapped. According to the sheriff's office, 2 to 3 of them were able to escape from the collapse themselves and were transported to area hospitals with minor injuries. So, yeah, boy. Hey, I keep reading about the infrastructure of America and how many bridges need to be replaced. And I was reading how they do bridges, how they build them in China. They do it in a day.
Of course.
They construct it, and then they put it into place. So, but, boy, I tell you, it's...
we've had some bridge issues. Of course, over in Memphis. Remember they had...
Oh, geez, that's right. Yeah, the I-40 bridge. That's right.
Bridge was...
At least it wasn't the main artery, though.
Of course, right.
Boy. Yeah, that disrupted a few things, didn't it?
Mm-hmm. I looked that up. That was 1995.
Well, that's...
May 16th of 1995 was when the bridge collapsed there in Clifton.
Oh, okay, the Clifton Bridge. Mm-hmm. Do you recall when that was, when the helicopter stringing the power lines across the Tennessee River?
And I misspoke. That was not a TDOT employee. That was a McKinnon Bridge. I'm not familiar with that company, but they were the ones, I guess, who were contracted
Right.
to build the bridge.
By the way, programming note this morning at 8 o'clock, Kevin Hicks, who was just elected to the county commission. Kevin Hicks will be in with us at 8 o'clock this morning. Do you know Kevin Hicks?
I do not. I have not had the pleasure.
Well, he's, I'm not sure to be pleasurable when you do meet him. No, actually, he's a great American. Very charismatic. Not that photogenic, but very charismatic. Kevin Hicks, a longtime friend of mine.
I feel his pain.
He is a great guy, and he'll be in this morning. We'll chat with him about what he's got going on and how he sees things these days, and we'll get the view from Kevin Hicks. Many of you know him, and he'll be right here with me at 8 o'clock this morning. Then tomorrow morning, Julie Carr's lined up a guy it's religious rap or gospel rap, and he's got some hits out that are, he was on, I think, what was it, OAN? He was supposed to be on last week, but he was on OAN and maybe another cable news network. Well, he's going to be here tomorrow morning, and his rap music has a positive message to it. Tomorrow morning, Laura Lehman will be here as well. So it would, along Julie Carr, and I'll get you the rapper's name here in just a moment. It's not Tupac. I know that. It's not Eazy-E. Those two gentlemen are no longer with us.
Sounds like a good show for tomorrow.
I think it will be. It's apparently it's his rap music and the messages that half the country considers to be positive. The other half considers, I think, them to be insulting. So imagine that.
Right.
Well, what's going on with traffic this morning?
So far, so good. We had a crash yesterday on State Route 69 down south of Savannah, which is, pretty curvy road, but very heavily traveled. We had a crash involving a log truck, and they got the truck out of the way, but the log spilled out. So they got that off the road. Mm. And so they're going to come back today. So there may be a little traffic problem in and around that area. That's a few miles south of Savannah. If you're headed towards the North Alabama, Florence, Muscle Shoals area from West Tennessee, that's one of the more heavily traveled areas heading out of Hardin County into North Alabama. So just remember to be cautious in that area for sure. But as far as crashes, the last I checked, probably about 10 minutes ago, everything was running as smooth as silk out there, and so we're going to try to keep that up for the morning for sure.
Well, that is really good news. Sergeant Childers, Tennessee Highway Patrol. So what's a normal day for you like? You work 9 to 5, or what's it like being a state trooper? How long have you, well, let's go back to everybody's got a story.
Right.
Now, if I take you somewhere you don't want to go, well, you won't go there, I know.
Right.
So how did you get into law enforcement? You come from a family of law enforcement officers?
I did not. And I'm not one of those typical ones who said, my family was a bunch of criminals, so I decided to be the police. My family's actually really well behaved, but I'd always, as a kid growing up, you always wanted to catch the bad guy. You always wanted to play cops and robbers. Nobody ever wanted to be the robber. So I just I started that interest in that and just continued on throughout school. And then I had a criminal justice class in high school, and I could see that you could turn this into a career. And so that's what I did. I got my first start in law enforcement. Chief Donald Durr down at the Savannah Police Department made a grave mistake and hired me to be a patrolman. And he currently now works for he's retired now and works at the federal building here in Jackson, one of their armed security. And I credit him with giving me an opportunity to get into law enforcement. And
that's good to do that, because some people, everyone needs a boost or somebody to help them pry that door open, and there's no one that's ever gotten through that door, no matter what it is, unless they had somebody to help them open it to begin with. But then it's all up to you what you do with that opportunity, right?
Of course, that's exactly right. We've when I started in law enforcement, like I said, I was 21 years old, and I've told this before. You couldn't tell me nothing. I knew everything that I needed to know, and of course, the next 17 years has definitely changed my attitude on that. I realized that I knew nothing then, and I know even less now. I feel like, but
that's the way life goes. That's why when you hear people say, "Man, that are my age, man, if I would have known then what I know now,
of course,
when I was in my prime." That's why I buy OTE. See, I put it all together.
There you go.
The Curious Case of Benjamin Buttons. 12. Don't make a mistake now. My testosterone is 1200.
I got you.
But go ahead. I don't want to make this about me. Go ahead.
No, that's fine. I worked down at the police department there in Savannah for roughly 6 years. Got hired on the highway patrol. Like I said, went to Haywood County, and then was over there.
Did you move to Haywood or did you drive?
Well, I drove quite a bit. Of course, you had to live back then. The living requirements were a little bit different. Now you have to be in a 40-mile range from the county line, and before that, it was you had to live in an adjoining county. And so there was my address. I could move over to Haywood, to Hardeman County,
right,
which touched Haywood County. But back then, it had to touch one of the counties where you had to live in the county. And so I stayed over there for probably about 14 months. I was lucky enough to get transferred back to the Jackson district with Captain Curtis Mansfield, who's retired as well, and was assigned to Hardin County. Was down there until 2017, and I was lucky enough to get promoted to the rank of sergeant in Chester and McNary, and that's where I've been ever since.
Chester and McNary. Okay, so that's your old stomping ground. You know it well, don't you? Those area.
Well, to be honest with you, I knew very little about Chester, and I knew a little bit about McNary, but I tried to step it up a notch or two. I went ahead and married a girl from McNary County.
I like to see you're smart.
Yeah, just tried.
Always thinking.
I did that before. Before I even started with the highway patrol. That's how, I'm familiar that I wanted to be with it. So
finally, Captain Braden sends somebody up here with some sense.
Yeah, that's right.
Thank you,
that's
Captain.
Exactly right.
No, Lieutenant Chris Hosick and Patrolman Brian Cook, great guys.
Of course.
Ricky Bratton, Captain Bratton is his dad was police chief in Milan. From when I was born till Chief Bratton passed away, really, and he was a great guy. He meant a lot to me, I tell you. Great guy.
I didn't have the pleasure of meeting him. If I did over the course of the years, I don't remember that. But yeah, I've heard nothing but good things.
He was the adult in the room.
Oh, is that right?
Even keel.
Right.
But you knew if you got out of line a little too much, he may jerk about a half inch out of your backside. But he did. You have that feeling that he really cared.
Mm-hmm. That I have never been confused. No one has ever said that about me. They have never said, "Hey, he's the adult in the room." That's never happened. I don't know what that would feel like. I mean, I've had kids say he's not the adult in the room for sure.
Okay, yeah, this guy here. All right. So you're back closer to home,
of course,
and that's where you've been, and you've risen to the rank of sergeant.
Right, and
17 years now.
Well, in law enforcement, about 17 years. Yes, sir. Going on, knocking on 11 with the highway patrol. Let's see here. I am 3 months away from my 11th anniversary with the highway patrol.
Yeah, which you believe it, time flies, doesn't it?
Of course. Which reminds me, today is the 27th, and today is is two things. Today was the day that I was promoted to sergeant back in 2017. So this is a 5-year anniversary for me.
Well,
but the main thing is my daughter's 19th birthday.
What?
Yes, Jaden.
19 years old.
That's right. My daughter Jaden turns 19 today, and so she's actually coming to Jackson. She said to do some of the birthday gift things where you can, I think there's a few places that give a few things out, like a donut or a cup of coffee or something like that.
Sure,
so her and her friend, they're going to go around and
funny.
Do a few things. That's
I do
the
that
life
sometimes.
Of a college student, right?
Yeah, I do that sometimes once or twice a week.
Of course.
And we
just tell them it's your birthday.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, because most
like 239 years old now.
I know it was like they're like if you tell them it's your birthday, they don't want to. They hesitate on asking you for proof,
Right.
Because
they don't want it to be awkward, right?
Yes, and I'll go ahead and run it out to them. If you ask me for proof of that, it's going to make this very awkward. It's going to ruin my birthday. And they're
That's
like,
right.
Well, okay. But so Jaden is 19 years old.
That's correct. She's currently a freshman at UT Martin, and of course we got to go to the ball game last week. But we did a little bit of birthday celebrating last weekend. But her brother has a football game tonight, so she's going to come down. We're going to spend time with the family tonight, kind of cram the old birthday in around a football game. So
he's with McNary? He played for McNary? Or?
Well, he's 9, so yes, he plays in the Adamsville Parks and Recreation Department. They play tonight, 2 games tonight, doubleheader football games. You never really hear that,
wow,
right?
Yeah.
Apparently, when you're 7 to 9 years old, you recover your body recovers very well from that physical activity. The professionals, they take a week to do that, but they can do it in 15 minutes.
That's so true. I know. I played co-ed softball, and don't laugh, those girls are really tough.
That's right.
And I see, Sammy Sosa, for example, he was in the prime of his career, missed like a month. And I think he was sent to Jackson, but yeah, that's
I remember
what
that.
Because he sneezed and like pulled a hamstring when he sneezed.
I mean,
and so I'm like, you know what? These guys got to play. I'm playing co-ed softball, and I go all out. I will take out the second baseman or second base woman if she's trying to turn 2. I'll take her out. It's part of the game.
Shouldn't have signed up, right?
Shouldn't have signed up. Hey, yeah, I did too. I didn't. There's a reason why they keep score on that scoreboard, is what I would say.
That's right.
Girl, and so it was considered by a lot of people to be poor sportsmanship, but hey, you play to win. Again, that's why they keep score. That's how I look at it, don't you?
I totally agree. Yeah, that's the fun part of it. You want to win. Nobody ever says at least we finished second. Nobody ever wants to do that in a softball game.
Exactly.
Right.
Because typically I'll either single off the wall or hit a home run.
There you go.
I'm not gonna leg out a double. Do you need to go? Is that what it is? Okay, right.
No, of course not.
The way I've always looked at it is that the Tennessee Highway Patrol, the state troopers, that's the big league. No disrespect to like Brantford's police department, but if you're the chief of police in Brantford, yeah, you're the chief of police, but you're also the only police officer. Now that's kind of a joke. That's kind of goes to my fan club. Peggy was the president of my fan club, Piggity Peg, and somebody had asked me about it. Well, it's being the president of my fan club is similar to being the chief of police in Bradford. Hey, yeah, you're the chief of police, but you're also the only police officer.
That's pretty funny. I never thought about it.
But the perception is that's the big leagues. THP. What was it like when they hired you on, because you'd already been in law enforcement? Where you're like, oh, geez, I got called up by the Atlanta. Was it like being called up from the AA Mississippi Braves to the Atlanta Braves?
No, of course. That would be a good way to put it. And I try to tell folks that too. It just kind of makes things a little bit, or kind of broadens your horizons, I guess. There, when you're working in a small police department, there's only a few things you can really go into. There's usually like an investigations division or some patrol supervisor or the chief. I mean, there's only so many routes that you can take. With an agency the size of the Highway Patrol, or even one with the Jackson Police Department, there's so many avenues that you could go into. But of course, you miss that hometown feel and seeing, working side by side with the same person every day, and it being, knowing everybody by their first name and things like that.
Sure, yeah. We can text you with questions for you on the Advanced Rehab and Medical text line 731-800-8398. And we have opened the phone lines up if you want to jump in. 731-800-8255 is the phone number. Jackson IV and Wellness Clinic sponsor the phone line. Advanced Rehab and Medical on the text line, advancedrehabjackson.com. Asking about driving while sleepy. So this texter says it's not talked about that often, but people that drive while sleepy and how dangerous that is. I used to, no kidding, when I was like 19 years old, probably because it just now hit me because I stayed out all night probably.
Right.
I would fall asleep almost every time I got in a car driving during the day. I mean, I could not do anything to stop that. I was driving home, coming through you know where the airport is, the Gibson County Airport, between Milan and Trenton, Sanders Store Road. I just bought a Mustang GT, and I was
probably going a little fast.
Yes.
I understand.
And I was falling asleep, and with my 19, 20-year-old brain, I thought, I need to go faster so I can get home before I fall asleep.
I understand the logic for sure.
And so I wake up and I'm almost on the bridge, on the side of the bridge in that bottom area. Jerked the wheel right and left, but somehow, fishtailing, nobody was coming the opposite direction or it would have been terrible. I fishtailed left and then right and left and right, and then the car did a spin out, and I ended up facing the same direction I was headed. And I was like...
Instantly, you were not sleepy anymore,
I wasn't sleepy anymore, but I did roll the window down and have my head about hanging out the window the rest of the way home. And there was nothing I could do. That didn't happen anymore, but what about that, driving while sleepy?
It's terrible. It's terrible. It happens. And, of course, folks know that I mean, it's very dangerous, don't get me wrong. But, of course, people just put that aside as that, well, it's nothing bad. But you can see it could end up being catastrophic for sure. And so we always try to recommend, try to figure out something to do or prolong your trip. If you need to stop and get out, walk around, especially if you're going on a longer trip, there's always something you can do. But if you're falling asleep from a 3-mile commute or 7 miles, something would be more
That's what I was
reasonable,
doing. Yeah.
right?
Something's wrong.
Probably need to be planning a little bit better, not staying up all night and then trying to go to work. For
Right.
sure. Coffee helps. But of course, most people, you're right. Most people do think that when you sleep or when, the people that you need to be worried about are the impaired drivers. And do not get me wrong. That is a very real problem. But yeah, tired drivers are for sure an issue. And of course, in the commercial driver industry, you have to keep up with your record of duty status, and you can only drive a certain amount.
It's
of hours.
Right. I the way I'd always justify to keep going was, good. I'm falling asleep. I kind of wake up and I'm over in the next lane, and I'm like, okay, that woke me up. And so here we go again, and the process would start over again. Mm-hmm. I get sleepier and sleep. And I cannot believe it. Thank God I didn't get in a horrific accident that would have, hurt or killed somebody. I easily could have changed my life forever or ended my life for someone else. You get a little bit older and you think, geez, what was I thinking?
That's that wisdom part I was talking about. At
That's
21,
right.
I didn't think anything about, but now I do.
Boy. Yeah, just how fortunate I was. And I don't know, at some point, a few years later, that doesn't happen. But man, every time I got behind the wheel of a car, almost every time it happened to me. We'll be right back. Got to get a timeout. Sergeant Childers is here. Charlie Childers with the Tennessee Highway Patrol. The trooper that stands next to Josh Heupel on the sidelines with the Tennessee Volunteers. What's his name? I've got it down.
Lieutenant Eric Miller.
Lieutenant Eric Miller was going to be on this morning. He sent me an email yesterday. We're going to reschedule him. And so Charlie's here this morning, and it's great to have you in here.